Today is a Girl Child Day. Why do you think this is the very important day, and why do we celebrate this day?
Actually, the International Day for Girls is very important because the whole international community believe that girls are left behind. They are the most vulnerable and the least to enjoy their rights. In UNFPA, we have put for ourselves a model of trajectory, and it is around the girl of the 10 years old. We say there are two trajectories in the life of the 10 years old girl. One trajectory, which is, we call it the missed opportunity, when she is left school, dropped from out of school, then go to child marriage immediately, then she will get more babies, her health will be difficult, she will not be able to gain education, therefore she is not going to be able to get job. She will be a burden on the family and the society. And the other trajectory is, first, to keep her at school, allow her to continue her higher education, skill her with enough to get a job, then you will delay her marriage. She will get less children, but she can grow them better. She can earn income. Therefore, she help herself and help her community, and then she becomes an accelerator and supporter for the whole community. And there are two main accelerators for this. The first accelerator is to ensure that sexual and reproductive health awareness services are available to everyone, particularly for females. And the second, investment in the skills of the young girls to know their rights in order to be able to achieve their potential. In Pakistan, as I said before, 1 out of 5 girls get child marriage. They become a child bride. All these people are facing lifelong pain, and they become burden on the society. Therefore, it is very important to keep hammering that child marriage has to end, because it's part, according to the United Nations and to UNFPA, it's part of the violence against women and against children. Therefore, this has to end in order to transform the girl from potential burden into a potential accelerator and supporter for the economy and for the whole society.
You have spent quite enough time in Pakistan, and you're coming from Middle East. How did you find our culture, overall? Because you've spent a lot of time in Pakistan, again, the Middle East, and then going into the villages, talking to the government. And I think your perspective is quite different to someone who is coming from West, because there is a perception in the West about Pakistan or about this part of the world. How do you define a Pakistani society?
Look, Pakistan looks like many Arab countries. All its challenges are of social origin. And religion is used. I wouldn't say that Pakistan, like any other Arab country, I didn't see any religious country. Not Saudi Arabia, not Egypt, not Palestine, my own country. We are countries that are driven by tribes, different types of tribes, political tribes, blood relationship tribes, social tribes, classes, tribes of classes. We are, in the whole region, we are trying to be states. But I don't think that we reach the situation where we become state. Because the ABCs of the state is the rule of law. And the rule of law is not enforced anywhere. When I arrived in Pakistan, the first impression that you get, where you have the religion is everywhere, people with beards, and the checkpoints you can see the police with beards. Everybody is on the first day in the office. Just around 11:30, everybody has took off his shoes and they went to the wuzu, then prayer and continued. So you feel that you are really into a religious society. As you dig deeper and deeper and get to know the people and get to know the things, you feel that the social system is strong. It's a conservative country where norms are very strong.
But culturally,
you cannot break. Yes, culture, inherited culture, it's mixed between Hindu, between the Islam, and other Asian behaviors coming together into a mix that made this country, in my opinion, a very, very big potential. But this potential needs a lot to be done. It has to run and announce emergency in every single sector to catch up the world. Whether we are speaking about children, we are speaking about unemployment, young people, women. Women are missed opportunity in the country. While you have too many individual champion women, but most of them came from the cream of the society. They didn't come from the mainstream. They didn't come from the poor families. So on one hand, this will tell you that if a woman given a chance, she can be a champion and she can reach a no ceiling in terms of shining. But it tells you again that the mainstream are not given any opportunity. Therefore, I would say Pakistan is very interesting in place. Very, very interesting. And it's a good place to study and learn about culture, about social norms, about how religion is interacting with the social norms and with the society, and to see the power structure within the family, within the community, society, and then within the state.
And what was your perception when you were in Middle East about Pakistan? Like when you, especially obviously from the TV, like what's the general perception, how people see Pakistan?
Oh my God, terrible.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say that.
Because of
Pakistan is very, very much better than its image outside. And I think this is one of the areas that the government and the society needs to work about.
We're really bad PR managers.
Unfortunately, yes, I would say. Because what's in the news, you can see poor people, you can see violent demonstrations, you can see floods only. And when I came for the first time, when I was asked to come to Pakistan, my first answer said, no, what should I go do there? And then they started to ask my colleagues who came here. They said, no, don't hesitate, immediately go.
Okay.
You will have good people. You have very nice Islamabad. You have very nice nature. I never imagined that Islamabad will be such a clean city when I compare it to Cairo, for example, when I compare it to Damascus, when I compare it to New York even. So the image of Pakistan, unfortunately, outside is not good. And this is something that you need to work on. But, in order to work on that, there is some homework inside to ensure that the nature and the blessings that Pakistan was granted is employed properly to receive people. Where is your tourism? Zero.
Yeah.
If I compare it to Egypt, Egypt's main source of dollars is tourism. And Egypt doesn't have any of the nature blessings that Pakistan has. Egypt has only the history.
Yeah.
But they are employing it very well. So now go for any place in Pakistan, from the north to the south, and the very, very nice places, natural places, mountains, valleys, rivers, and try to see if you can have a good hotel, if you can have a good resort to take your family, to receive tourists. This is some area that needs to be looked at.
Talk to me a little bit about your background and your childhood. So you were born in Palestine.
Yes.
And when you were young, how was the country back then? Because it's in the news. There's an anniversary, just passed. When you look back, how do you define the country and generally that part of the world?
Look, I was born in a middle class family. My father was a teacher. My mother was a housewife. And we are 9 brothers and sisters, 4 brothers and 5 sisters.
And which city you were born?
Well, I was born in a city called Hebron. It's in the south of West Bank. And I grown up in Ramallah. The difference between Palestine and the neighboring is education. We invested too much in education. Among the Arabs, the Palestinians are the most educated. So we believe that education is the main game changer for the people. This is why we have very good civil society, very educated, then they can compete. We have too many Palestinians working in the UN and other international organizations because for us, land is very dear to us. The only way to sell a piece of land is to send your son to the university. So it is something that we have invested a lot. When I was a kid, our KPI in the family is the scores.
Okay.
Only. Whatever you do, you can be forgiven to. But if you don't get good scores in the school, this is a disaster. And you could face different sorts of punishment. So for us, education is the only path for us to succeed and to prove yourself. If you want to prove even nowadays, when somebody wants to get to get engaged, I have 2 masters. I have a PhD.
Wow.
So we are too much addicted to education, and because we don't have much. The land is very limited. Resources, the country doesn't have resources. We don't have oil. We don't have tourism. We just have Al-Aqsa, and Al-Aqsa is not under our control. Therefore, the only way for the Palestinians to make a breakthrough and penetrate to the international community is education. This is why we invest in education. When I was a kid, I was dreaming to be a VIP, very important person.
Okay.
I don't know why.
But like any particular field or generally just as a concept?
I was expecting to be a doctor, to be a PhD student or at university. And alhamdulillah, it happened. I got 2.
But what was your inspiration when you were growing up? Because obviously over there, the situation was still almost the same, what's happening right now. But was there anyone who was sort of influence on you? Like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. Anything like particular?
Look, Talha, when we as human beings, we have 2 spaces, the public space and the private space. We start with the public. We start to be important, speaking in politics, being in the demonstrations, being a public figure, so that you become something or somebody where people can point out this is the one. But when you fail for different reasons, because of corruption, because of there is no possibilities, because of occupation, you go to the private space and try to invest in the private space. In my childhood, at the beginning, I was active in the demonstrations against occupation. And we were leaving the school to throw stones on the army. But over time, we started to convince that this includes a lot of games, that it's not possible to be foreseen. So I decided to invest in myself and to leave the circle of poverty. Our family, we have to compete in everything. On the food, on the one who just walks earlier, he gets everything and go to school. And the others has to live with the residuals. So I has a decision when I may be 15. I don't want to stay poor. I have to leave. So the only way to do that, education. This is why I invested in my education.
And you were there, so you did your schooling from there?
I stayed in Palestine until the age of 18. Then I got scholarship. I studied in Iraq, undergraduate. Then I did the master's in Jordan, and then I did the PhD in the UK, in Lancaster.
And then how did you then moved into the development sector?
Okay. When I came back, I started my career as a lecturer in the university. And then
that was in Palestine?
That in Palestine,
okay. After
Ramallah.
UK?
In Ramallah. No,
okay.
in Ramallah. And then after that, the Palestinian Authority was established, and they established the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics. I am studying mathematics and statistics. I said, this is my place. So I moved to it. And I was running like a missile, jumping from one place to another. So I started as a soldier, an assistant. And in 10 years' time, I was the president.
In 10 years?
Yes, in 10 years. Running from one step to another, alhamdulillah. And after that, I has a meeting in Brussels. I was invited on gender-based violence. And at that time, the executive director of UNFPA saw me. She's Saudi, Thuraya Abeid. And she said, look, brother, I want you. I want you to come to work for UNFPA. I said, no, I have a census. I have to do the census. She said, what census? Well, you're crazy. What you're talking about? I'm giving you an opportunity that people are creeping to get it. I said, no, I have to go do the census. After that, I went back to Palestine. And in 2006, we have the elections. 2007, the country was divided between West Bank and Gaza. And the politicians started to pull me this one to this side and the other to this side. I said, this is not my game. So I wrote to her an email. I am ready to move now. After 2 months, I was in UNFPA. And this is how I moved. It wasn't something planned. I was the head of the Statistical Bureau of Statistics, and I was happy where I am. It is at ministerial level, and it's research-based, a lot of intellectual discussions. So it's something that is the best to my inspiration. But I couldn't live with the political division in my country. It's I'm sorry to say that in politics always there are dirty games. I couldn't continue, so I decided to leave the country.
And which country did you move to then?
Then I moved to Iraq, then to Jordan, then to Egypt, and now in Pakistan.
And how was your sort of first year at UNFPA? Because again, that was a new world for you, like the development sort of, the whole sector.
It was very interesting because I was coming from numbers background. I studied mathematics and statistics, and I worked 13 years in the Central Bureau of Statistics. So all my brain was programmed on numbers. Everything is numbers. When I moved to UNFPA, I was given the role of Chief Technical Advisor for Iraq Census and an advisor for population policies.
And this is
2009.
Okay.
April.
The situation was still really bad in Iraq at that time.
So when I moved there and we started to discuss about population policies, so you moved from speaking about numbers to emotions. You start looking at people beyond the quantity, what their dreams, what they want to do. And from there, I started to engage with specialists in anthropology, and we started to think about the development part, the inspiration part, the potential, how young people want to be, what are the fears of old people. So it was very interesting learning curve in my life. The first year, 2009, from April to April, it was very important because it has taught me to change the angle where I look at the society from speaking about quantities, numbers, to speaking about the emotions, the dreams, how people do the dynamics, how economy is interlinked with culture, how religion is interlinked with politics, and all these issues related to the population. It was an eye-opener. And I have two friends. One of them, his name is Abdulaziz. He was the very senior advisor for population policies. He was my mentor, actually. I used to invite him almost every day just to speak. so that I can learn from him how does he think about population, how does he think about diseases, how diseases move from one place to another, how people cope with that, what are the fears of old people, how the UN system was created, particularly in the development part that is looking at the welfare of the people, keeping the people safe, making the people feel that they have opportunity, and to create the hope. This is the most important that I have learned, that once you are able to create a hope for people, you are done. Then they can go, everyone can find his or her way to their aspirations.
So if there is an ordinary person watching this episode, he or she doesn't know too much about the development sector. So how do you define, like, what is development sector? And also, just sharing my personal background when we were like just talking. So I studied from UK journalism. So I was in the media world. I personally also didn't even know about like this whole like we thought like the UN is maybe just one big organization, and then they have conferences, and I didn't even know what they were doing in Pakistan. Obviously, when I moved back, I started working with them. So as a layman, for a layman person, what is the role of the development organizations, and why do they come to countries like Pakistan or Iraq or like generally all over the world?
Okay, there are two dimensions for that. There is the good dimension, which is related to the mandate of different organizations. And we have to remember that all the UN agencies were built after the World War II, where a new system for the global international cooperation was done. If you speak at the professional level, I mean, for professionals like me, development for me is the creation of hope and opportunity.
But don't you think that's a government's job?
Of course. Look, all UN agencies and international organizations cannot replace any government. What we try to do is to give our lenses to the government, to see the issues using our eyes. Human rights eyes, opportunities, hope, and so on and so forth. Now, there is also, but if you ask me why you are in Pakistan, we are in Pakistan upon the request of the government. All UN agencies. No UN agency can work in any country if the country does not invite this organization to work in its territory. Because at the end of the day, the government is responsible. It's their country, and they are responsible. They are elected, and they are accountable to their people. What we try to do, we try to tell the government, work with the civil society, encourage public debate about issues that we learned from other places that could improve the lives of people. This applies, for example, in the investment of women. It applies into the reproductive health, human rights, to ensure that women are not beaten, gender equality, all the issues that's related to our mandate as UNFPA is also things that we are trying to bring to the attention of the government. But at the end of the day, it is the role of the government, because there is line of political accountability for that. But also we should not forget that there is political side. There is global competition on Pakistan among different countries. This is why some of the support and the opportunities that come to the country, because there is debate on which garden this country is sitting. And this applies not only to Pakistan, India, all the countries in Asia, and in West Asia, my country and other countries, and in the globe. The big debate now, who is leading the world? Is it to stay on one head, or to have two or multiple heads? And within this, money are used.
And how do you get the funding? So it's mostly the UN also have like that? Do they have their own pool of money, or the international like organizations pool in the money? Like how the process of the money?
There is something called ODA,
Okay.
Overseas Development Assistance. This is a percentage for each of the rich countries they allocated for supporting the global development. For UNFPA, we have two sources of funds. We have something we call it the core funds, which is the annual contribution from the member states, including Pakistan. And I just received last month check from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on their contribution to UNFPA. So every member state contributes a specific amount that it decides to pay on annual basis for the UN agencies. And this constitutes the core funding. And the rest is we are pitching on the ODA and also the appeals in the humanitarian settings. For example, when the floods took place in 2022, there was an appeal for about $800 million to support Pakistan. So UN agencies, based on their mandate of work, they apply and they reach out to the donors who allocate resources and tell them, for example, we would like to make mobile health clinics, we would like to make counseling for women. Others, they will allocate resources for shelter, clean water, and so on and so forth. So this is the way how the funding is coming. If your question is hinting, is this political money? I would say no. What comes to the countries in the underdevelopment sector is not political money. It is money to support, but the whole development portfolio is one of the tools to attract the countries on which direction they can move.
And what kind of difficulties do you generally face in Pakistan when you do the development work? Is it mostly, I'm sure there are like bureaucratic hurdles, but when you go into the communities directly, you're working with the small NGOs or like a local partners, what sort of relationship you have with them?
There are two types of challenges. If you are asking about our challenges that we are facing as an organization, we have zero challenges.
Okay.
Pakistan is very well-received country. I can meet anybody. I have access any part of the country. Of course, within the norms and the standard operating procedures that the government put. But I must say that it's easy, it's accessible. If we want to meet with any person, an official, whatever the hierarchy is, I met the president, I met the prime ministers, I met chief ministers, advisors, director generals. There is no issue in the access. So as an organization, in terms of implementing our work, we don't have much challenges. But the challenge that we face, that our efforts is not making enough impact. So I would love to see that what we do, not only UNFPA, all development international bodies, to see the outcome of their work. When you speak about maternal mortality, it's something that are not acceptable that women die while they are giving birth. In a country that is highly civilized, it's a rich country, it's not a poor country. Of course, there are level of poor or poverty in the country, but the state is not poor. Child marriage, it's something that is not acceptable to be these out of every 5 girls, one of them are getting married before reaching the age of 18. So, if you ask me, are you happy with the results? I am not happy. But am I facing working level challenges? No, we don't face. We would love to see the national ownership for the issues. Things are moving mostly on ticking boxes and meetings after meetings, and sometimes you feel that when they do the meeting, they feel that have done the job. The meeting is to do the job. It's not a result by itself.
And do you also see the similarities between the Middle East and Pakistan? Like you have served there as well?
No, Middle East is faster.
Okay.
Yes, Middle East is definitely faster. In the Gulf, for example, they are moving very, very fast. Very fast because they are employing money and they bring expertise from outside and they listen. They listen. But some of Arab countries are not listening and they are still back. Some of the Arab, I don't want to name the country, but at least one of the Arab countries who feels that they are the best of the best. They have the level of the pride in the sky. So they don't listen. They feel that they have the best systems. They are the ones who can teach everyone everybody in the world. But in fact, they are among the least in the development. In Egypt, for example, although they have some similarities when it comes to the government, but it's not such heavy machinery. Here, bureaucracy is very high. I guess the Pakistanis got too much from the Brits when it comes to the hierarchy of the government, but they took it on the Pakistani pace. So it's not speed as it is in the UK, but you are still using this hierarchy, and this sometimes on the expense of the outcome of our programs. I don't say that they are not working. They are working, and they are working too much.
It's a problem with the system.
But the system and the way how the efforts are allocated. Coordination is becoming a big task.
When we talk about the development sector, one of the things which I have seen and when I talk to people is the model of sustainability.
Yes.
As an example, a UNFPA, other UN organizations come, as let's say an example of floods. There's a lot of like millions and billions of dollars we spend. But then after 3 years, there is another flood and we're still standing there. Where do you think is the problem? Because do you think is it a mindset of a government or a country that, okay, whenever there's a problem, the money will come and we don't need to sort of self-sustain? Because as an example, if you take a polio issue, like we are only, I think there are 2 to 3 countries in the world, like we are a nuclear power, but still this issue we are unable to solve, which doesn't like make sense in terms of numbers or when you think about this issue. Like what is the issue? Like my question is, how can we make ourselves more sustainable? Not just without the help, like obviously the help is important and it's needed, but generally overall, what should the government or a society should do?
Let's be fair with the country. The country since 47, and it's going from one crisis to another. So the list of the priorities is very long. And always there is some sort of emergency since 47. But also, what makes me feel optimistic is that this country, whenever they want to do something, they do it. I'm speaking about the government, I speak the institutions. For example, in the midst of the floods and after the floods, where we have a lot of economic problems, decline of the value of the rupee, and the inflation and so on, and out of sudden, they said we will do elections. They were able to find money for elections. So whenever there is a will,
there is a way.
There is a way. So I think when it comes to the sustainability, I think it's the governance system. The country culture is top down, totally top down, and the role of leaders is substantial. And actually, this country was made by a vision of one person and leadership with another person. The country was made out of this. So the public machinery is not efficient, and it needs surgical reform. But I don't think there is a will to make this reform. Maybe politicians don't like to go out of their comfort zone. The issues that needs to be tackled needs people who can gamble their political future. And I don't think that there is many in the country who are ready to do that. I'll explain myself. For example, if you are going to speak about child marriage, if you are speaking about women empowerment, you need to face the society and say enough is enough. We cannot accept that our girls are not educated. We cannot accept that our women being beaten. This language is confronting social norms, is confronting the culture. And I don't think you have many leaders who are ready to gamble their political future to make this breakthrough. And without having these leaders, because the structure of the country is based on hierarchy and it's top down, I don't think all what we are doing as organizations and as civil society and as government as well will make a lot of difference.
You talk a lot about girls' education, and you guys are working. There's a lot of projects which are happening there. Can you give like some examples, like especially when you go to the communities? One, like what sort of a feedback you get from the community, because that's where the problem is, and what sort of an opportunities you see there, and then those two things can affect the whole thing which we are talking about. Like the whole issue in the country, whether it's an economy, whether it's like generally.
There is very sad story. I keep saying it since I lived that story maybe 15 months ago. In one of my visits to KP, in one of the communities, I have meeting with men to speak about violence against women, investment in young people, family planning, and all that stuff. And I was getting some information from the men. I said, how many people are you in this community? They said, we are 65,000. How many schools do you have? They said, we have 6 schools. How many schools for girls do you have? They said, we don't have. All schools are for boys.
For 65,000?
Yes. 65,000 inhabitants. There is no school for girls. I said, why you don't have? They said, because the norm is that the community give the land, donate the land, and the government build the school and bring teachers. I said, why you don't give the land then? They said, because our community is going to be commercial and the land is becoming very expensive. Until the mindset of our men change that investment in girls' education is much more important than getting few lakhs of rupees in that piece of land, things will not change. The problem is in the mindset.
But when you talk to the government there,
yes,
don't you think that's like, I'm sure they will also have resources to just start a school there, instead of like, the community will give. Obviously, that's one sort of way to do it.
The government is what they say, and I am sure that they see what they do. They say our capacity, for example, we can build 2,000 schools per year, but the needs is 40,000.
Wow.
So they are trying, but as I said, the needs is too much, and the population is growing, and more kids are coming. So this is why always I'm saying that this emergency, education emergency, was a very good step that the government has done. but this has to be translated into actions on the ground. People do not believe that investment in girls is something important. This is across Pakistan, except among the elite families. Then this is why you see prime ministers from them coming. You see champions. You have seen our executive director was Pakistani. She was coming also from the elite. So this is one. The second is that the government put in their mindset that all problems of Pakistan are of social origin. They are not of political origin. And in the Arab Spring, if you look at the Arab Spring, it's the same. No single demonstration came in the first place to challenge the legitimacy of the government. They went for education, jobs, dignity, food. And when the government failed to do that, it turns to a political dialogue. So most of our problems in our region are of social origin, and unfortunately, social agenda is in the back. And we always seek different solutions.
But do you think, is it just from the political side or from the normal people side as well?
Both. But in countries where the governance structure of the society is top down, the role of leadership become maker or breaker.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of two Arab countries, Syria and Tunisia. Both in the 60s were having the same population, 11 million. Tunisia has their Al-Habib Bourguiba, who became the leader, and in every single public speech he was speaking about women's rights and women support and women reproductive rights and the right of women. He changed the laws in favor of women. And Syria was like the rest of the Arab countries. It was from coup to coup, political disagreements, and then dictatorship for a long time. Now Syria is 4 times as Tunisia. So the leaders can change everything, because we were our culture, our mindset. We follow our leaders, whether these are religious leaders, social leaders, tribal leaders, political leaders. We follow them. So the role of leadership is extremely important, in my opinion, and it can make or break. This is why I'm always calling upon the government. Keep the social agenda as your main priority. You will change the country. Because once fathers get in their minds that getting my child girl married at age of 17 is a crime, is a social crime, is a life crime, he will not do it.
And what is your message to the mothers?
For mothers, my message is invest and believe and trust the abilities of your kids. Don't get them married before they are able to be economically independent, have good education, and have enough skills. Marriage is not anymore the only destination for females. It is one of the destinations. I say this to my daughter. I said, this is a good destination for you. But if you are, for some reason, you have given somebody who do not respect you, who beats you, why should you continue this miserable life? If you are educated, if you have skills, then you can continue. This is my message. Investment in the education, in the skills, and in the trust and confidence of our girls, and open all doors for them. So investment in women is a change maker. Investment in gender equality, imposing gender equality. Sweden, when they started this movement, feminist movement, they imposed 50% on every public affair positions. And if you don't find a woman, the position is kept vacant. And they kept that for 15 years until the society got in its brain that this is the way how we are going to continue our life.
Now, where do you see the technology role? As an example, when we were sitting in the room, we were talking about the chat GPTs and generally, the Facebook as an example, Meta is now giving free Wi-Fi's and free internets. Do you think the technology can impact? Obviously, you cannot replace the government's effort, but generally, as a whole, like in the next 5 years, the role of technology, and if we start investing in AIs and overall in the technological items or things, do you think that can impact or like multiply the effort?
I think technology is going to change all our lives, and could be a very important game changer. But also this requires to make it safe, to avoid bullying, to avoid violence, cyber violence, and many women and girls are exposed to this sort of violence. So it is important for the government to make accessibility available for everyone. It is important that we trust our girls. We give them the opportunity. We allow them to make mistakes, and we accept that. And also, invest in the technology. In our projects, for example, in the telemedicine, we face serious problems that in many remote areas in Pakistan, internet is not there. It's not working. And I think the investment in the infrastructure for technology in the country is very important. And many UN agencies and other development partners are piloting some ideas to make the access for education through technology. And COVID-19 was one of the real life examples that tells us that things there is always other face for the flip if we decide to do that. Therefore, I think technology is very important, and I think Pakistan has to run on this, not only to work toward that, because there is a gap that is widening every day, and we don't want to miss this opportunity. It could be an issue for improving health services, improving education, improving innovation in the country. Just before this war in Palestine, for example, Gaza is very small, and it's the highest population density in the world. Almost 30% of the young people in Gaza were working with international organizations while they are sitting in their homes, virtual, doing applications, innovations. So technology is a big horizon to solve the problems. But we have first to trust technology, invest in it, and accept that our young people can make mistakes and they can learn from that.
Lastly, like as a government, what do you think, what are this, let's say, 5 big steps which government needs to take, and very like a practical, let's say like a 5-year plan to solve this issue? Because now you have worked in the communities, you have worked with the government, you know what the broader issue is. Of course, like the bigger one is like if you really want to do it, but in a practical sense, what are the 3 to 5 things?
Yeah, very practical. First of all, change the NFC, the award that they are giving to each province, and moving it from demand-driven to target-driven, to push the provincial governments to achieve results. Give example. Now, the amount of money that Punjab is getting is based on the total population. No, I will give to Punjab if girl education reach this amount, gender equality reach this amount, number of inhabitants to hospitals this amount. So if you make it target-oriented, then you will create an environment where people compete to achieve better indicators. This is one. Second, invest and allocate more resources for education and investment in child girls. These are the most important, in my opinion. the most important. This is a missed opportunity. This is the future of Pakistan. Third, invest in women capacities and opportunities. Don't be afraid if our women get educated and go to the market. They will not compete. They will not make young men unemployed, but they will create more opportunities. And then do a surgical reform for the whole public management in order to make it efficient and effective to make service delivery. And those who are unable to deliver services, let them go. That's it. I think these issues, if they are implemented in Pakistan, they will change the whole interface. And in order to make this change, you have to impose in the parliament a specific number of females to be in the parliament, to speak and to voice and to give the point of view of women on different issues. It is not enough to have people like you and like myself and other colleagues who are in favor of supporting women issues. Women have to speak because definitely they have different point of views. So without imposing this, culture will not change. You have very, very good female leaders, but they are very few. And they are coming from the elite tribes. In order to make this at the grassroots level, we need to have from every single district, from every single village, that a woman either in the assembly or in power. So this what will change. We cannot impose change on the culture. Culture has to be changed by those who are affected. So women empowerment, empowering women will ask them to get their rights. If the woman is educated, she will not accept getting married to an ignorant person. She will not accept to sit, if she has the opportunity to work and earn resources, she will not accept to sit and be beaten every day. So education for women and opportunities. This is what will change the situation. This is what happened actually in the Gulf states, in the Arab region. Look, you go and see there, most of the women in the public sector, almost 70% of the employees are females. Why? Because they have been educated and they could compete. And when they started to compete, it is very well known globally that females are more performers in education than males. So this is why they get the jobs.
I feel like advocacy is the biggest sort of need right now, especially for people who are in their teenagers, because now they will eventually go into the job market and their industries. So eventually I think it's a very slow process, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like whether it's a religious issue, whether it's a societal issue, where is the problem? Because when you talk to people, everyone agree to the problem.
Look,
then it's so easy. Because
there is one of the anthropologists, I forget his name. He has a theory about religion. He said religion is like a blanket. It takes the shape of the body that it is put on.
Interesting.
So if you put the blanket on a table, it takes the shape of the table. So the religion that came to conservative communities, it became conservative religion. So social norm is much stronger. We observe the social norm many times than we observe our God. This is why we lie. We beat our women in the dark, but we don't beat them in the street. God said, don't beat them both ways, in everywhere. But this because the social norms is stronger. Therefore, I don't think it's by any way we can blame the religion. Never, in my opinion. All religions came with good values, with good things for the people, to make us more disciplined in terms of our relationship with each other. But the issue is inherited in the culture. And this is where the change needs to be done. Advocacy, of course, is very important. We have to keep
Hammering,
knocking
yeah.
and hammering, knocking and hammering and hammering. But also, I must say that in a country which has hierarchy like Pakistan, the role of the leaders is very important. In the public speeches are very important to keep hammering in the public speeches, because this is where grassroots people can listen and can they take their messages.
Totally. Thank you so much for taking the time out. It's lovely talking to you. And let's say in 5 years' time, when we sit again, there is a bit of a change, I think, because of your work, because of the work which we do, and generally, I think what we are all trying to do.
Definitely, the change is taking place anyway, but it is very slow. I hope that it will be accelerated.
Yeah.
I pray for all Pakistanis and for this country, which I really love, as I love my country, to see it's in high prosperity and people are enjoying their lives, happiness, rights, and I wish the best for you, for your team, and for all my beloved Pakistanis.
Oh,
Thank you very
so
much.
much.